should I put this so that how do I make it not become my whole personality?
You're going to, I forgot what I was going to say. You're going to hide it with your arm anyway, so.
Yeah, perfect.
It's nice to have the background ambience, but like, we didn't get their permission. Do you feel ready for this interview? You're like, I have no idea what to expect, so.
Yeah, a lot of preparation has gone into it. It seems like we'll be slightly less intrusive on this whole place.
Full disclosure, Alex is a little tired from being a dad full-time and working full-time, so we had a lot of late nights this week, so I'm partly to blame for this string of events. How's it feel, man, to be on Nikomia's podcast talking about technology?
Lifelong dream.
So, for the people watching who don't know you, would you like to just introduce yourself, a little bit about who you are, where you come from?
Sure. My name's Alex. I'm originally from Cincinnati.
What do people need to know about you to understand your views on technology?
Alex from Cincinnati. Probably enough.
All right. Alex from Cincinnati. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
You did not come from a tech degree, right?
No.
How did you become interested in technology?
It's a good question. I always liked it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was choosing my degree, I had some amount of luxury in knowing that I was not going to have to use whatever I got right away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I later in life decided that's what I wanted to get into because it kind of, I don't know, I found joy in it.
So, what was the first thing you started with?
Chemistry.
Chemistry, you said, yeah. Sorry,
I don't think I actually said it. I just...
Do you feel like you use any of your chemistry knowledge now?
I mean, there's a lot of math that went into chemistry that's like very much the same math as anywhere else.
Yeah.
So yes, maybe, but certainly not like standing over like a lab mixing stuff, which was my favorite thing to do. Chemistry.
Yeah.
Sit there and mix stuff.
What's your title?
I am a data scientist.
Senior data scientist. And I have to add senior in there, you know this, right?
If you wish.
It's not how long you've been in the field, but how much you're able to train others. And I think from your background, from my interactions with you, right, I know that I can like rely on you to like be that leader, if you will, which I think is the real part of being a senior engineer.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I know you don't identify as a senior engineer. Help us understand like why like the title doesn't really fit in your perception.
I guess in my mind, like I'm still like everything's still pretty new. Like I transitioned to this career 4 years ago. And before then, like didn't really know anything of these things worked. So like I still feel very new. I think that's my main aversion. Especially since I think you've probably been doing this specific thing longer than I have.
Probably in terms of tech, yeah. But I feel like everyone, if you're in tech long enough, you will always feel new. Like that's just the nature of tech.
That's right.
Because it's always evolving, right?
Yeah.
So with that thought, the kind of evolution of technology has been super rapid over such a short time compared to like the rest of history, right?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I feel like a lot of people got introduced to technology that probably didn't really get the proper training or education on how to use technology. So do you have any thoughts on like how people can understand technology better in their lives?
I guess it like depends on what you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to change your career to use a different thing, that's probably a different approach to, you know, calling your grandkids less to fix your TV.
Right.
But
separation of concerns.
For sure. And they're like technology is such a broad thing that like there's so many different ways that you could think about it.
Right.
To just
So-
avoid the question entirely.
Let's talk about from both sides, right?
Yep.
So from the person who wants to like not ask their kids for information or just for help more,
Right.
how can they understand the immense world of data that's around them that they're contributing to, but also feeding from?
I mean, this answer's a cop out, but like I started to like try to get my older kid to do this.
Okay.
Who was 9 for reference.
Yeah.
Like large language models can basically tell you how to do anything, and if the task is like simple enough, coach you through it as well. So like as he's doing his homework, like doesn't understand what the teacher said, like
Yeah.
I'm trying to coach him to like, ask, ChatGPT or Claude and see if you can like actually understand it while you're doing it, instead of like when I was a kid, it was like I was always like hesitant to ask questions in class. I felt like I should just know the answer.
Yeah.
And so like very often I just like didn't know certain things and just moved on with my life. But
Yeah.
I feel like if I'd had something that would like reliably give me a good enough answer, it would have been awesome.
Mhm. I feel like you bring up this topic of AI and specific LLMs, right? I know that you rely on it a lot for work, and you just said that you kind of inspire your kids to do it as well. Do you think like that's just the future?
Yeah, I think it's hard to see exactly what point on the AI curve we're at to know exactly like what that future is going to look like.
Yeah.
But certainly at the point we are right now, absolutely. For work, it definitely allows me to like stay higher up in the code versus like super low level. And to some degree that helps me move like a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So that I don't have to worry about some of the more boring details and I can focus on the big picture.
Mhm.
And I feel like as a result, I've been like a lot more productive at like getting stuff out the door. On the kid side of it, I really do feel like there's a big future in like AI tutoring.
Mhm.
It just has so much ability currently that the quicker that schools and teachers can figure out how to leverage it for, actually making the kids learn more instead of, not have to write essays.
Yeah.
I think that's going to make a huge difference. Because I feel like so much of school is like trying to balance like rote memorization
Mhm.
with like following and like exploring ideas and figuring out how to, understand the world around you,
Yeah.
like what it means to learn something. But
So what does it mean to learn something?
I don't know. But like one of the things that's been like stuck in my mind since these like large language models have started to like take over. I mean, they live rent free in my brain all the time, but like think about them a lot for work and for other whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not the first one to think of this idea that like raising a kid and like training the language model are like, I wish they were more different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's like a lot of similarities there, and like, showing them the right stuff to do, like, providing feedback when they're not doing the right stuff.
Mhm.
Like, to what degree are we, like, even the way that they seem to make mistakes is very, I don't know, have you ever been exposed to thinking fast and slow?
Like the idea
Like,
of
like the book.
the oh, did you
Daniel
tell me
Kahneman.
about this book before? Probably.
It's possible.
But no, not specifically. I haven't read it yet.
Got it. So it's like a very, very brief summary of like the most high level concept in the book. Our brain is sort of made up into two different systems. They call it System 1 and System 2. The thinking fast is System 1. And that's sort of like your autopilot.
Reactionary
You
stuff.
don't have to think about anything. You once you've been driving for a while, you don't really think about driving. You're just driving.
Yeah, yeah.
And then System 2 is your like higher level reasoning where you have to like stop and think about doing like math problems. There's a set of rules and you have to follow them and you have to work it through. And all of our like consciousness and how we operate as humans is like basically those two systems. And like to some degree, I have like a really hard time differentiating like the system one thinking from what an LLM does.
Right.
Because it just like regurgitates what it knows.
Yeah.
And there's definitely been some instances where it like exhibits a higher level of reasoning where it starts to feel like system two, but like
Yeah.
there's still like a pretty big gap there. But the idea of like the system one thinking being like very, very similar, definitely something I think about a lot.
There's two things that I think I want to say. The first one is, do you think that both System 1 and System 2 are necessary for us to replicate human intelligence in a machine?
I mean, I think there's got to be some version of it. I don't necessarily know that that's the only way, because like computationally, like you may not need to do it the exact same way, but like
thinking slow will be thinking fast because the computer just goes fast, right?
Right, but like like to some degree, like neural networks are like based on neurons, like they're not completely separate in that, and so like modeling off of things that we know works is a pretty good place to start. And like there was a paper from Google's like DeepMind that was their alpha geometry paper that literally referenced this concept and how they attempted to train it. And so they paired Gemini or Bard, or whatever they called it at the time,
right,
with like this neurosymbolic reasoner, and then like had it work on like the math Olympiad problem set, and it worked really well. And so like they sort of proved it in that domain, but I think there's still like a pretty big gap of like it's a very well defined problem of doing like geometry or math problems. And very well if it's right or wrong. And this like higher level reasoning, system 2 logic that goes into determining whether things are like right or wrong or true or false has like the set of rules and the set of knowledge that goes into like enabling that. It's super complicated. Some people base their beliefs on other foundations, and like to some degree, like a lot of system 2 thinking allows you to recall specific information that's in your brain or that you've read somewhere, and then apply it to the situation at hand. So like in like a religious setting, you can use what you've learned about whatever religion you're applying to this thought problem that you're doing. And you can try to make a determination on like whether it aligns or doesn't align. And you do that thought experiment enough times. And
ethical reasoning,
it moves into your system 1, and now you don't think about it anymore. So like there's like many directions of like how that could work, but like the thing you just brought up, like ethical reasoning is complicated, and like we can't agree on it. Like I don't think
there's definitely not a need to agree on it mostly. But there's a need to like coexist and cohabitate on ethical issues for sure.
No, but I guess one of the interesting things that I still like think about is like a lot of like AI has gotten good enough to where we start needing to measure it against human performance because like the problems we're giving it are too hard, that like we want to have some benchmark of like, okay, well, if we had people doing this, how would they do? Because like if we give it a hard enough problem and no one can do it, like I don't know, it's hard to understand what that actually means. But if you think about ethical reasoning, like if we can't provide this machine the answer that like it's trying to work within, it could probably come up with one on its own to some degree. But like it may not come up with the one we want it to, and so it's a really interesting problem of like trying to marry up these differences in how humans disagree on things with like training a model that like doesn't really care, but like is exposed to these different opinions.
I think what you kind of said just now is that we have to give AI an answer for it to learn and explore from there. So is there any sort of originality that AI kind of comes from?
I mean, so where this takes me is it's the opposite direction,
Okay.
and it's a question that is like deeply almost religious, but like doesn't have to be depending
Yeah.
on what you believe.
Yeah.
Is like this idea of like free will within
Yeah.
humans. And like whether anything we do is really a choice or just like this is what happens when you accumulate all these circumstances over time,
Yeah.
and all the things you've learned and reacted to. Like, does your brain really get a chance to weigh in? I'm like,
And what does weighing in even mean in that sense? Oh.
I know, like if you're like your brain doesn't usually weigh into tying your shoe, and like so that's not really more moral or ethical question, but like you know once you've decided to tie your shoe, like do you decide to tie your shoe or do you just like notice it and do it?
Yeah. Are we trained or, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like for lower level functions, like obviously we don't really have free will over our breathing.
We can
You
be
can kind
deliberate
of
about
try,
it. Yeah.
but you will eventually pass out and you'll eventually start again. Probably. I don't really know.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
yeah. If you're old enough, I think you will. I mean, even if you're young enough, like your body will react to just breathe. I feel like it's just human instinct, I guess.
yeah, no. So there's some like base level things we really don't have control over, and trying to figure out like what line we do. Like clearly, some decisions we have to make a choice, and the choices are very different. And
Yeah.
you're absolutely weighing in with how you're reasoning, but it's based on all of the reference material that you've accumulated over your lifetime to
Yeah.
thus far, and what you've decided that you believe.
Yeah.
And so it's like a really interesting like, and they've done studies, and the answers are always like,
Yeah.
try not to think about it too hard.
Yeah.
So like instead of trying to answer your question, I would return back like, is there a meaningful example that we could point to on the human side that we think that a computer or technology would not be able to get to? Because like to some degree, like, and for scientific discoveries, it's probably the most obvious
Yeah.
evolution of ideas where somebody discovers something and somebody else discovers something and the third person sees both and like, oh, I can put these together.
Yeah.
But like had the other people not gone first and shared their research or at least like made it available,
Yeah.
third person would have no chance. And so like is the state of technology or artificial intelligence to the point where it can connect ideas and create novel ones based on those? I think absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm like not totally convinced that human intelligence goes beyond that either.
That's fair. I definitely appreciate your rebuttal to the question of originality, and I feel like people should probably think in that way a lot more because it would make the conversation. I think it would get it to the next level. Whereas people right now are saying like humans, we have a sort of pride, if you will, that I think is where that question originates from.
We're special.
Yeah,
Different.
of course, yeah. We're not the center, but we're like above the center.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. We touched on the topic of religion sort of a lot
Sure.
in this conversation, and the whole point of like this road trip I'm taking is called SpiritualTech, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while spirituality and religion are often closely tied together, your point about like free will being religious and or not religious, depending on the context, is like the whole point. And for us to be connected, to be like understand us as humans regardless of religion or spirituality, like spirituality in the sense of how I'm defining is just like we know that like life has some meaning, and we're all kind of sharing this experience that we're trying to figure out what this experience means.
Yep.
And I think that is like the ultimate form of like spirituality, and being able to like transcend that is the whole mission, right?
Sure.
So we have to understand as technology advances, as we continue to be innovative, creative beings, how can we not be distracted and fall into this paradigm of like, if a machine can do it, like what's so special?
I mean, yeah, I mean, to some degree, like you'd only get to answer the questions that you're asked. And so trying to frame the question on like what does it actually mean? Or like what is actually special about being a human?
Yeah.
Um, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And like obviously like if you phrase it in that term, it becomes like a little bit simpler. Like my quad is never gonna like have a child and like raise a family.
Yeah. Can't have a physical child, but it might. I mean, you can consider processes and threads, child.
I mean, in the computer science world, absolutely.
Yeah.
But in the like human connection side of things,
100%.
like it's never gonna happen.
100%.
So I don't know.
I did a segment recently or like a few months ago about like what it means to learn, and there's two ways that I portrayed learning, which is we either learn from our own experience or we learn from someone else's experience.
Yep.
And I feel like there was a connection from what you said about learning. Do you remember what you said just now about what it means to learn?
No. Oh, I mean, like in my mind, there's I don't know, trying to figure something out on your own, and like the joy that comes from like discovering the world around you, and like, and that is like very much learning.
Yeah.
And like I remember this quote that I'm not gonna attempt to
Reword, yeah.
reword or recite, so I will paraphrase it, which is basically like the important part about like studying history
Yeah.
is like the conclusions and the takeaways that you get that like stick with you
Yeah.
even after the individual like facts and like, oh, this battle took place on this date, like you're gonna forget that.
Yeah.
So like why even learn that?
Yeah.
And it's justifying that like you'll eventually remember hopefully the important parts from that deep dive that you took.
Yeah, repetition definitely helps doing that, but the usefulness of that is questionable. To your point, there's this big, I think, push that we do as humans, which is knowledge preservation.
Yeah.
Which is going back to the point about free will and originality. We have like one of the things that I like say is that we can like give up certain knowledge for the sake of like there will be someone to rediscover in the future.
Sure. Yeah.
And like the world around us, right? Whatever we perceive, whatever we like experience, it's arguable that we can say that it's not our own because anyone might have come up with it by themselves. So like, what's so special about you doing it?
Yeah.
So I guess, do you have any thoughts on I guess the point of knowledge can be rediscovered by anyone, so there is no real point about originality in that sense?
I mean, this sort of doesn't answer the question, but it inspired this thought.
Sure. I mean, we're rolling with it.
Yeah. I have a friend from who I went to school with
Okay.
that he eventually went on to start this like experiential learning company.
Okay.
And like I still can't wrap my head around whether I think it's cool or not.
Experiential company?
Experiential learning.
Learning.
And so his idea of like it would take various clients different places. So like I'm gonna mess up this story. But like your brain and like various chemicals play a big role in like remembering. And certain experiences will like cause those chemicals to like naturally be produced. Like if you're experiencing some form of trauma,
Yeah.
it seems like it'll go either way. Like you're either gonna like remember it, never ever forget it, or it'll like kind of suppress it and become a problem for your subconscious later.
Yeah.
He was doing like some of it seemed like okay, I don't see any harm in that. They would go like rappelling and then do like a lesson, well, some sort of like leadership lesson afterwards to
Okay.
like help reinforce. It's like great.
Sure.
No.
I mean, experience, you know.
And then the other one that he did was it was a kitchen, and these were like chefs.
Okay.
And like again, there's nothing actually wrong with this, but I was still trying to like figure out if there was any value in it.
Right.
Where they took the group to like a farm and basically had to go like find the chicken that they were then going to prepare and like go through the process of like slaughtering it and preparing it and then like making it into the food. Which, like,
what was this supposed to reinforce? Or
it was supposed to reinforce the like experience of like killing something.
Yeah.
For people that weren't like used to it. It would provide this opportunity to like throw
Release
extra like knowledge and information down as like part of that experience.
So did they learn something else while they're doing this action? Is that like?
Yeah, they would like cover some. I can't remember the details exactly, but there was some additional information that was attempting to be
put into their head,
while this other part was going on.
Right.
And like, there's obviously, like, to your point, this is like an experience now, and that's like part of the lesson is like discovering that and how that feels for you personally.
Interesting.
I think there's some value in like, you know, experiencing something is probably. Like, it depends, and like you don't necessarily need to like experience like the full thing to still get some of the value in it. And so, yes, I think there's a lot of value, and it's why like kids go on field trips instead of just like looking at textbooks. But like, there's also like to some degree, there's nothing new under the sun either. So there's this knowledge that you're not necessarily discovering anything, but like. You're still getting to learn about it in this like raw sort of unfiltered way. Which I think is important.
So I mean, experience is subjective, right?
Sure.
And I guess our subjective learning of an idea or concept or knowledge does make it original in some regard.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess like we're also saying that there is not really any preference that any particular perspective of experience should get, right? Because it's all knowledge under the sun, right?
Well, I guess in my mind, there's nothing new under the sun. Just means that like whatever like messed up, horrible thing, like somebody in the tens of thousands of years of human history has already done it, already discovered it. You're not going to be the first to do it. One of the things that I think is interesting to ponder, and it relates, but it's sort of a tangent, is this idea of like what is invented versus discovered. A lot of people have sort of agreed that the large language model neural networks was something that is potentially something that's been discovered.
Interesting.
Versus invented.
Okay.
But like, it sort of applies to anything. Because like there's a very specific like lineage of how like all the pieces need to come together to make this possible.
Right.
And this idea that it was inevitably going to be figured out is like sort of dubious. But like, I guess really it underlies the fact that a lot of what they're doing, they don't understand exactly why it works. But there's experimental evidence to prove that it does in fact work.
Right.
And there are theories surrounding why it works.
Is that why it's called discovered and not invented? Because we don't know how it works?
I mean, maybe that's it, but that feels unsatisfying.
Agreed.
And so, like, in that sense, like, if somebody discovers something and doesn't patent it, like, is it the discovery? If they don't tell anybody, if they really discover it, like, if a tree falls in the woods,
does anyone hear
make any sound? So like the whole idea of discovery is like an interesting one to like try and pull apart. But like, I don't know, everybody has their own experiences, and the culmination of all those experiences together basically is you. Like that's sort of what you are.
Agreed. So we talked about a lot of things, right? And I wanted to kind of follow a few tangents at least, so like see like where it went, and so help other people who might not be thinking in this paradigm all the time, right?
So
like understand all that goes into like how technology is affecting us, right? And the kind of fundamental questions that we need to answer in order to understand technology. So I guess in terms of like the future, right? There's the technical side of development of technology. There's the legal side of managing like the legal side of technology.
Sure, yeah.
Politics and administration and stuff like that. Regulation is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And then there's like the human part of it, which is like when we're going about life, discovering, inventing, whatever. How do we understand life differently because of this thing that we've created? So in all of those areas, or you can just choose one or whichever ones you
Sure.
feel comfortable talking about. Do you have any thoughts that you might help others who are listening to kind of spread in their own life and like be the advocates for that future? It's a lot.
There's something in my head that come out of my mouth. Whether it answers the question or not is, I guess, for you to decide. One thing that I think's interesting is that, like, one of the things I mentioned before was just this possibility of like tutoring with artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
and that potentially playing a larger and larger role in education.
Yeah.
What's, I guess, interesting now in this country and probably everywhere, and it's probably just like something that's always true, is deciding like what education means, like what is allowed to be taught, what is acceptable to be taught. Like, obviously there's a classic example of like evolution.
Yeah.
Is that acceptable to teach? Or ethics, like what version of ethics are you going to teach? And I think you get in this like weird loop where, like, I think our kids eventually are going to be, mostly tutored by, artificial intelligence or not.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to play a larger role. And you have this weird cycle of like the people that will eventually be like training the AI, or potentially at one point in their lives trained themselves by AI in like their own education.
Yeah.
And like, what I don't know to like the ethics and like that sort of feedback loop, what that will cause is just like an interesting thing to think about as far as like this whole discussion of like the role of technology and what do humans do and what does technology do.
Right. I mean, at some point we're not going to know where something started, right? Essentially, from what you said.
Well, not even that. So like in college, I took an ethics class because I had to.
Yes.
Although, like, I'm glad that I did. And it was basically like philosophy and
Philosophy is awesome. I love philosophy. You know.
but like one of the things that like struck me was that they came out and they said that like we do not ascribe as like an institution to the idea of moral relativism.
Moral
relativism.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Like things are.
There is one moral, right? There's not relative to.
Well, like if we view that murder is unacceptable,
right?
Despite the fact that you come from, I don't know, the medieval time. That doesn't, we're a knight in 15th century England.
Yeah.
It doesn't make murder okay.
Because
murder is still wrong.
Yeah.
And that like absolutist sort of foundation, I thought was an interesting thing to like bring up in this context. That like, I sort of wonder if there was an AI model that was like released like yesterday. The basis for how it made its own improvements was that it could reflect on its own behaviors.
Yeah.
Or its own outputs, and then use that to train itself a little bit. And so...
kind of adversarial, sort of, but not really.
To be honest, I read the headlines and like a few paragraphs in, so like the specifics I cannot tell you. Do you know the model's named Reflection? It's a 70 billion parameter model that is performing better than a 400 billion parameter model.
Okay.
And effectively every benchmark.
Awesome.
But the idea being that like a lot of these disagreements that humans have are to some degree based on like, well, this is what my parents told me was true.
Yeah.
Or this is what X figure told me was true.
Yeah.
Like, is there a future where you sort of get to like distill everything down to like actual arguments without some of these, I don't know, things impossible to argue points, and just like boil it down to like what has to be true,
right?
Because it has access to so much more context and information than any one person could ever have. And there's this sort of, I feel like I'm starting to sound like there's a certain group of people that is like awaiting this like AI god to tell them what to do.
Right.
And I'm not for that at all.
Yeah.
I think we need to make decisions for ourselves.
Yeah.
But like this idea of like bias and where that comes from, to some degree, we're at a weird spot right now where like everybody's biased. Everybody can now like sort of make up whatever they want and sort of prove whatever they want.
Yeah.
Because you can amplify your own opinion on social media and then point to social media that you created yourself. It's like, oh, this must be true.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is like, oh, okay, I guess it's true. There's all
The
this
ultimate
fake.
loophole there.
Yeah. And so there's this like induced bias between basically who we follow on social media.
Right.
Because that's what we're training ourselves as our little language models that we are exposed to. But we like need this ultimate source of like unbiased opinion that we like, I think all think that we are in our own heads. But like, you know, we're our parents' kids. We've come from
whatever school, whatever work. Yeah.
And so this like, there's this like weird need that potentially arises that we've always needed it. And we've always done like not a great job of finding that source. We've gotten what's good enough, whether it's the government or religious leader.
You brought up something that I want to just touch on a little bit, which is there's the collection of knowledge that is like enough people's stories or like recollections of like life that like if someone had that database, essentially just the data, they would be able to reason to get that to that point. But what AI and LLMs are is not just that database. It's the interface of like how do you actually aggregate that data. And I feel like that kind of complicates the problem. So like what you're talking about doesn't really get solved by LLMs. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I mean, they're not. Yeah, by themselves, definitely not. But if you can start to like learn from your own reflection of like, I have these two ideas that I've been exposed to that are like completely incompatible.
Yeah.
All right, how do I reconcile these? And like, ideally, it's probably a third idea that like solves the problem.
Right.
But then it, if it has this ability to reflect and like try to reconcile things that are, not ever gonna, could ever be true at the same time.
Yeah.
You start to at least have the possibility for like new unbiased ideas. I don't know. I feel like I'm losing myself. So.
No, you're good. I feel like, at that point, it kind of goes to like hot and cold can't exist at the same time, right? So how do you like understand what's hot, what's cold, and like operate in that paradigm?
Yeah. No. I think there's like an interesting like society in general. Like obviously in 1776 we like wrote a really strongly worded letter and we became our own country.
Yeah.
And then obviously we had to like do some real stuff to get there, but the world then was very difficult. There were obvious groups of people that were at the top of the hierarchy and obvious groups of people that were not.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have been trending in the right direction since then.
Okay.
With
I agree.
Some successes and some failures.
Yeah.
And some places are better than others. And this kind of like general
progression of
this egalitarian society that we're working towards. And I guess in my mind, if you're like an optimist, this is going to end really well. Like we're all going to get to that like ideal point where everybody's got the same opportunities, everybody's got the same freedoms, and everybody's like, everybody's great. If you're a pessimist, society's going to collapse in on itself, and this is never going to work. And I feel like there's this sort of like the same parallel between this like progress of society and progress of like language models to, or we'll say AI to be general and be nothing. Yeah. To like also get to that, but like at the end of the day, both of them are beliefs that you can't prove until you wait and see what happens. And so I think for technology, a lot of it, it's kind of up to us to get it to do the things we want it to. Yeah. Versus trying to get it to just like poking it with a stick and say like, do something. Yeah.
I feel like I mean that's the whole point, right? There isn't really an answer that we have right now,
Yeah.
and we have to continue on the path to like work towards a better answer, hopefully. And how do we do that as a society? So it's like my solution right now is just like have these conversations with people, right? Get them thinking, hopefully in a better direction,
Sure.
and like maybe we can make a better future together.
We're the only ones that can.
Yeah.
You get to make your own future.
Yeah.
Whether it's, I mean, other people gotta say too, but
Yeah. I mean, we can't live unaffected by other humans, right? So.
right. Yeah. But like you have the strongest influence on what you are
On your own life, yeah. At least we hope so, and not like
Yeah, I mean disasters and horrible people doing horrible things to you, or nice people doing really nice things.
yeah, it goes both ways. Yeah, both spectrums are there. But any final words for listeners? Anything that they would benefit to take away from all of our conversations so far? Stay in school.
Yeah, I guess keep an open mind and see what problem you can figure out to have it solved for you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Of course.